Damien, welcome. Great to have you on.
Hey Joe, how are you?
The theme of today, I just said earlier, is what's happening to football. So, Arsenal City, I guess, has kind of crystallised it a bit. But obviously, it's about far more than Arsenal City. We referenced even in the chat earlier, Thomas Tuchel citing long throw-ins as key for England's chances at the World Cup. You can sit down and watch Newcastle Barcelona now, and from tip-off, Newcastle will boot the ball straight out of play to arrange the press high in Barcelona's side of the pitch. And then I guess maybe what was so striking about Arsenal Man City is the two coaches. I mean, they're the zealots. They're the last people on earth you thought who'd be going about their business this way. And here we are.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. A lot of the things that seem to be in fashion now, we got criticised in my playing days. When you look at the managers I played for, Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis,
Well,
managers.
if his name was Sam Allardyce, well,
Well, yeah, no, but listen, I mean, Sam had all the statistics, of if you can get a certain amount of balls into certain areas, statistically you're more likely to score. Like it was like a science, a mathematics equation to him. I remember one of them was like if you could get 17 crosses in the box from a certain area of distance from the end line, you were like 83% more likely to score, right? It was insane. Like, and even he statistics from me as a defender, he would say to me as a defender, like, he would say it's like 92%. These figures might be off now, but vaguely what I remember, it's like 92% of goals scored from crosses are scored from within the width of the goal. So where do you think you should be? I'm like, right, within the width of the goal. And he went, right. So that statistic of 92% drops to 21 if the defender gets the first touch. It doesn't matter if he clears it. Doesn't matter where it goes. Get the first touch. So he would say to me, get yourself in this, because a couple of times you get dragged outside if a centre forward makes a thing. He's like, it doesn't matter. If a centre forward makes that run across the near post, the chances of him scoring are slim because the angle's narrow and he's out. So the only one they tend to score from is when it goes out the back and, the winger arrives late and he's outside the width of the goal and he either gets it back across goal or a loopy header or something like that. But he was like saying that's okay, we live with that, So he's just had all these areas of like, you need to be here for this. When the cross is coming from here, you have to be here. And it was a mathematical equation to him, and he was right. And I just wonder if other people now aren't cottoning on to that, not cottoning on, but taking that up. But the real question is why? Why are they taking that up? It's so interesting, and I'm sure loads of people have loads of theories on it. I've been mulling one over for the weekend. Um, I think, and we'll probably never find this out, but I think it's probably related to the amount of games that teams are playing and fatigue levels. And for Pep Guardiola to average, what was it, 32% possession on the weekend, which is abysmally low for anybody, never mind Pep Guardiola. And I just wonder, are they looking at the length of the season and they're thinking that the intricacies that you need for Pep to play his style, that the players' fatigue levels or mental application just isn't there. So they're taking that away from the players. They're saying, listen, we're just going to be conservative, pragmatic, because the season has become so long now. Like, you got to remember, Man City played on Thursday night against Napoli. And yes, they were playing against 10 men, but they were awesome. They were brilliant. I was doing commentary on the game. I thought they were really, really good. And he probably just realised that they show up, they might be a little bit leggy. So he takes the element of risk out of it, because to play the football that you want to play requires risk. Players have to rotate into certain positions and the balls have to be played in certain areas. And if players aren't 100% at it mentally and physically, then you leave yourself open to be counter-attacked, or you leave yourself vulnerable to conceding. So I'm trying to find the best way to explain it. And I was thinking earlier, and I thought to myself, like, if you think of like a Formula One car, right? And you're going, Formula One car is set up for, a specific race, right? And then after the race, you get a 2-week break and they change out parts. Now, I know in Formula One, you can have 3 engines over the course of a season, but the car is full of materials from the periodic table, which are lightweight or saving. And it's just really, really good, but they're not durable. If you said to a Formula One team at the start of season, the car that you put on the grid on the first day has to be the exact same car on the last day, they would build it differently, right? They would set it up with more durable materials, heavier car, and it would be more robust, okay? Now, I know Premier League teams now are probably sitting on the first day of the season. They're like, we have got 60 games to get through. Now, I know squads are bigger and you can make substitutions, but a lot of the managers are saying, if we front load the players here, we're going to run out of steam. And the reason I came up with that analogy is I reckon there's like teams of analysts. There's external companies now, I'd say, getting data from teams, right? And they're pouring over it. Years of data. Go back the last 5-10 years in the Premier League, and they are number crunching, and they're putting every number in. And they will come back with results that say, when you front load a team, back in the season you get tired, or, the best way to structure a team to be physically at your peak is in March, is you can't open up. It's like you need to keep it under control. You can't cut loose because players are incapable of keeping that mental application for the whole season, because physical fatigue is one thing, but mental fatigue is a thing as well. And you look at the schedules of the teams that are playing on the weekend, right? You look at Chelsea, we're at Bayern Munich on Wednesday night, right? Now, I'm not looking for small violin here, because I know people will say these are highly paid, pampered Premier League football players, but they're going to play in Germany at 9 o'clock, games finish at 11. It's half past midnight by the time they get away from the stadium, right? Getting to an airport at 1 a.m., 2-hour flight back. It's 3, take off the hour. So it's 2 a.m. they're landing in London. They're back to their beds at 3 a.m. by the time they get home. And then they're in at midday, right? Now, the players that are playing have to do a cool down. The players that didn't play and that were on the bench, they got to do a session to keep their fitness levels up. So life can often be the hardest for the player that's on the bench, because he's only getting 5 minutes at the end, but then he's got to put up a certain set of numbers, 5-6K on a Thursday, because, well, he might have to play. But on top of that, now substitutes are asked to be mentally engaged in the build up to a game, because you might have to come on after 5 minutes. So it's not like you're a sub and you're sitting having a sandwich watching the lads get ready for a game. You have to be physical. So mentally, you're locked in from the get-go. And then you think of Chelsea's schedule. Thursday, they're in. Then Friday, they're getting on a train. They train Friday morning, light session. They're on a train to Manchester, into another hotel, up, rinse and repeat, right? So it's a tough schedule. Same for Man City. Thursday night against Napoli. They're in Friday. Same thing with what Chelsea went through. Then Saturday morning, they're on a train down to London, into Houston, on a bus, to a hotel. And then you have to get up and perform at a certain level. Now, I know certain people say, well, that's not hard. It is. And I know it's early in the season. But mental fatigue is one thing, right? And if players aren't as fully dialed in as what they should be, maybe Pep thinks that we're susceptible, and one loss now is a crisis with the media attention, and why are they losing games? Why are they not top of the league? And then they just kind of snowballs, and you get on a bad losing run. So maybe, no, that's a bit of a long-winded kind of rant. I said it was a theory. It was kind of a half-baked kind of thing that I was mulling over. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, Joe, about anything I just said there. So fire away, pick holes in everything that I said. Go.
Well, it's very interesting. I don't think I wouldn't rule it out. I suppose I can't quite in my head think, well, when they're winning the treble, they're not going down this route. My honest theory with City is something he alluded to in the post-match press conference, where he was asked about, when they took off Haaland on 75 minutes and they went to 5 at the back. They basically declared. And Pep said afterwards, look, we didn't want to, but sometimes it happens. 1 time in 10 years, not bad. Honestly, it's because the opponent was better. And so I just look at Pep and City and I think they're not as good anymore. They didn't set out to have less possession necessarily. They probably assumed it might happen. This has been brewing for a while. Obviously, I think he's just looked at them and realised we're not as good. And so Donnarumma, that was a real sign of that coming. Pep Lijnders in as coach, definitely like an evolution towards, if we're all picking bad analogies, at the US Open recently, Novak Djokovic is less complete than he used to be, because physically he can't do what he did. So Djokovic now is trying to kill points early in games. He's going, the early on in a rally, the moment there's a high risk chance to just kill an opponent, he'll try and end the point early, because he's not able to do what he could do across a longer point. I just feel City are a less complete team, and this style of football is easier on the counter-attack. And look, we've got Haaland. He was sort of born to play this way. And I think Pep is cutting his cloth accordingly. I think if he had the team, treble-winning team, those players, he would not be playing the way he's playing at the moment.
Okay, but it's all of them. They're all doing it. Liverpool are the same.
Yeah, it's true.
Chelsea are the same. Arsenal are the same. Why have they all suddenly gone to this form of football. So we could pick holes in City and Arsenal and Chelsea, and we can go through them all if you want.
Well,
and if you want to get into Arsenal's midfield, like, you know, we'll get to Arsenal midfield because that's a huge letdown for them.
Well, I've got a theory on that too then. And
go
then
on.
I think there's a degree of copycat culture in football.
Absolutely, 100%. That was
so, hang on, Thomas Tuchel said that with long throw. We can do long throws. Pep's putting a fullback into midfield. Look at California yesterday. Pep's not even doing it anymore. So I think there's a bit of contagion in the game as well.
But why did that creep in? That's the why was that?
Is it low hanging fruit?
No, I don't think so. I think there's an analytic company out there that came up with some form or some interesting theory as to, you know, how you have your maximum at the back end of the season. And if you're competing for definitely 3, maybe even 4 trophies, and the expectancy is for all those top teams is that they do the treble every year. You know, that is what they're kind of setting themselves out for. And somebody's come up with a way of conserving energy and specific data sets that says if you are putting up these numbers this early in the season in terms of in and out of possession, if your players' markers post-game, because all players are tested now, are at a certain level, then you're going to start losing players to injury or to fatigue or lose form, right? And I think somebody's come up with this and they've all decided, no, let's play pragmatic and trust our superstars, i.e. Erling Haaland or Gyökeres, and win 1-0. Liverpool are the only ones that are kind of getting away with it at the moment. They're not firing. None of the top teams are firing on all cylinders. They're not even close to it. Nobody has put in a performance to say, like, wow, they look really, really good. Nobody. That is not an accident. Like, I do not believe that everybody's just looked at Thomas Tuchel and gone, let's do this. I think somebody somewhere has come up with a theory about physical output and where you need to be at certain points of the season when you go back over all the previous seasons, and somebody's got a hold of all their data and come up with a theory. And I think that is the most likely outcome, to be honest with you. What that specifics of that is, I don't know. But for all of them to do it, and I agree, it is a copycat league, but Pep Guardiola is not throwing a lifetime philosophy out the window because Thomas Tuchel said, let's do long throws. Like he has carefully looked at this.
And to be fair, like City have not gone for the long throw thing the way other teams have. Like they've gone they've become a counter-attacking team. More so, I'd say. And that Pep Linder's like, let's try and score more quickly kind of a thing, which is, you know, as opposed to what they were doing in terms of possession before.
I would say that looking at the game against Napoli, they were beautiful. I mean, honestly, they were I know a lot of people might not have caught it, but I did a commentary on that game and it was beautiful. Their football was incredible. The tempo they played at, the Rodri passing from midfield, Foden getting into pockets of space, Erling Haaland, Doku was electric. It was like close, or as close to like a Pep Guardiola performance as you're likely to see. But then I think they rock up at the Emirates on Sunday and they were like going, okay, we've got another gear now and we're changing tact and we're not going to... The players haven't got it in their legs to repeat what we did against Napoli. It's impossible. So what do? We just revert in and we counter-attack. Okay, so I would say that, you know, certain set of numbers came up after Napoli, and then they said, look, we can't repeat that. It's impossible to repeat that. So we, especially against Arsenal, so we need to like take it down a level. It's almost like you got different guises you can drop into for and I think it's number driven. It has to be. But then you look at like Arsenal, they were kind of doing it last year. Now we can sit here and talk about specifics about City, it was specifics about Arsenal. Like you look at Arsenal's midfield, like I don't know what that midfield is. I was watching it yesterday. Yes, the Arsenal have improved the top end of the pitch. They really have. But I think they're weaker in midfield. I think Thomas Partey leaving that football club has cost them. I think it's hurt them an awful lot more than what they thought it would. I look at Mikel Merino, first of all. I don't know what he is. Like, I don't know what he brings to the party. So if you're to say that every footballer has one really, really good trait, like really good at something, Mikel Merino is arriving late in the box, scoring goals, and just being a general plague, just arriving in the box. He doesn't do that anymore. So if he's not doing that, what does he do? So you look at his skill set. Okay, he's big, he's physical. You know, you probably won't lose many midfield battles with him in it. But in terms of build-up play and linking it and passing, I don't think he brings anything. Zubimendi I've been watching for about 3 weeks now, and I haven't figured out what he is either. Okay? He's a ball-playing number 6. Not physically imposing, not strong in the tackle, probably reads it really, really well. Functional passer? I don't think he's an amazing passer of the ball. I think in that Spain team, he is a very, very kind of hod carrier role where he gets the ball at the back four and gives it to Pedri or gives it to the attacking players, and they go and do their job. But I've never watched Zubimendi, I know it's only 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and gone, wow, what a pass. Amazing. Whereas I watch Rodri all the time and I go, oh my God, that guy just passes it differently. There's a different zip to that pass. It's just perfect. The weight, the pace, everything of it is amazing. Zubimendi's an okay passer of the ball, but and not once have I gone, wow, right? I think Declan Rice is papering over a lot of cracks in the Arsenal midfield. He's having to pick up an awful lot of workload. He's getting forward, he's getting back. There was one stage in the second half, I saw him going getting the ball off the back four and trying to start Arsenal. They look really stuck in the mud. The back four give it to Zubimendi, and Zubimendi just kind of all slows down a little bit. It all just like they can't get any momentum because his passing is just very, very functional. And I thought that the reason they moved Declan Rice to 8 is because Partey was the best, progressive passer. And I remember reading an article with Diego Simeone. He said that Thomas Partey at Atletico Madrid was the best progressive passer in Europe, i.e. getting the ball off the back four, driving 5 yards in possession, and then firing a pass into the players who were on those inverted wingers or tucked in off the line. And look at Rodri. I was watching Rodri at Napoli on Thursday night. Like, Napoli were playing the condensed narrow midfield. There was only maybe 5 yards between the midfield players. And oh my goodness, he was firing the ball. And it was getting in there. And Phil Foden was taking on a half turn. And look at the goal they scored where he flicked it over for Haaland's header. I mean, he just forces a pass in there. That's what Rodri brings to you. Zubimendi doesn't do that. So I'm not sure what he is. Yes, they've improved attacking half the pitch with Eze and Madueke. And it's obviously got more out of Martinelli, more out of Trossard. Gyökeres, I think he's going to end up being a decent signing. He's not bad. But I think they're worse in midfield. Now, does the improvement in one area and lack of improvement in another negate each other? Have they improved as a team if they're weaker in midfield? And I think they are. So you can pick the bones out of that as well if you want.
No, I'm with you on all that. Because, they got the goal, obviously. Ironically, it was sort of when City pushed forward and then there was space in behind. But, like, if you get a feeling Liverpool are going to score late these days, you just did for, like, the last 45 minutes, the whole second half, even though it was a bit better initially. But, like, for most of the game, you sort of thought this isn't going to happen for Arsenal. There's just a deadness to the way they just rotate the ball in a big semicircle around an opposition team sitting in, isn't there?
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think they have that player in midfield that can force those passes, that can really get them on the front foot. Maybe Zubimendi will come good. He's new to the league. He's still learning it. It's a different environment, the pace of it. The ball changes hands an awful lot more regularly in the Premier League. So not writing him off, but I just think that I think Thomas Partey was such a better fit for Arsenal at the base of that midfield. Right. Like, such a better fit. The Martinelli goal. Yeah.
I presume Nathan Ake, who's kind of the left back, and you imagine yourself as centre half and the ball's played over the top and he stops to play offside when he could just go with Martinelli. That is just like unforgivable, no?
Yeah, it is, especially when you're playing 5. At the same point, he'd run inside, right? And when a player makes a run inside, you're looking to pass him on to the middle centre-back, right? So as soon as he makes that run inside, his initial thought will be, I'll pass him on to the middle centre-back. But then he realises, oh, shit, the middle centre-back isn't going to get him. And by then you're dead because you've already stopped your momentum. Like, the only way you can stop that is if you just stay with him the whole way. But I think he just switched off for half a second and then he lost his momentum. Then he realised, I'm never going to catch him now. Please play offside. And didn't get that. Then he's hoping that his goalkeeper is out. With 5 at the back, you can argue maybe the middle centre-back was a little bit too high. Maybe he was just in the line with them. You would like it just to be maybe 2 yards deeper. Having said that, it didn't look like... It's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in that moment. And ultimately, yes, the manager will say that Ake should have stayed with him and saw it out. Yeah. But it was just a little bit of miscommunication and a split-second switch off by Ake.
Yeah. So to try and kind of box off your theory then, because I don't understand it actually, what's going on. I don't have a theory. What you've said is very interesting. You could be absolutely spot on. It is, though, there are like different things happening. Like, so say the City thing, fatigue and away from home a few days on from Napoli, and let's sit in and we have the weapons to counterattack when we can. That makes sense. I would buy that, right? Now, it's such a departure from where they were. And part of me wonders, like, if keeping the ball is that demanding, really, like if you're popping it around,
it is.
The way they rotate and everything.
Oh my God, yeah. Okay. I mean, the timing, like, there's a lot of moving parts in that. You know what I mean? When the ball goes into the 6, 5 people have to be in certain spots and they have to get there at the exact same time. So, like, the mental level of mental in tuneness that you need to have for that. If a player is slightly fatigued mentally or physically, he might be a little bit late, which means then you lack rhythm and you're really struggling.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
By
the way, that is just a theory, right? I'm sure anyone listening to this will fire a million holes in that.
Well,
I'm more than happy to listen to it. I am more, like I said, it's a theory. And if anybody wants to question it, I can either expand on it or shoot it down. I'm happy.
Don't worry, they will. There'll be a lot of emails in. If you're asking for criticism, don't worry. Like, you don't need to request it. It's coming. Look, a part of me with City just thinks they're just not as good, and they're cutting their cloth. But the fatigue thing, absolutely, I hear you. But Arsenal with the throw-ins, and this isn't they can feel the way the game is going. Like, around the half-hour mark, I noticed the towels left all around the pitch. This is premeditated. We're just going to lob throw-ins in, and the set pieces. That sort of feels like the Sam Allardyce thing, definitely. Like, just the numbers. And equally, Newcastle kicking the ball out of play from tip-off and getting set with a press.
That's crazy. Like, I'm flabbergasted the teams are doing that. You know what I mean? It's almost like we don't want to give the ball away and get counter-attacked early in the game. We want a nice, solid start.
I'm with you.
I mean, kicking for touch. I mean, when that crept in, I'm like going, I think I missed my generation, Joe.
You'd be the first €100 million defender.
I think it's possibly, yeah.
Give it to me. I'll kick it out.
Yeah. We used to do that. We used to do that in League One,
But so that's the words out of my mouth. That Sam Allardyce thing, and Newcastle doing that, and let's get set and put them under pressure. That, for your generation, and really up until almost this season, that is deemed agricultural. That is deemed what you do with lesser players. That'll work down the levels. The elite of the game, we're better than that, is kind of how that was seen. And ironically, now that all down the levels, they're all splitting the centre halves and following the Pep orthodoxy. Yeah. The big boys have said, actually, that's stuff that's League One-y. We're going to use that. That's what's so striking about this. That Newcastle, with their huge squad and their brilliant players, aren't saying from tip, we have the ball, let's start playing, let's get into the game. No, it's so risk averse.
I mean, that is worse than risk averse. I mean, at least put someone over in front of the dugout, and when the ball goes back, he sprints in a straight line, and you might win a header down and pick up the bits and get a chance and get the crowd going.
City did that first 20 seconds against United last week.
No, I know, and I think, well, that I've questions about that. Yeah. I don't even know what to say with this kicking for touch business. Like, I that's so far down the like, that's, I don't know, but everything is numbers orientated. No, in the league, I think everything is, there's people with college degrees and, whatever, they're learning things about the game, and it's numbers driven. And somebody's come to the manager and said, a start like this, you're X amount % likely to win the game or not lose the game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's mental, man. I can't get my head around it. Yeah. Someone will do a book in a few years and we'll all figure it out. And at what point we all lost our collective saneness and thought that this is okay, I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's nonsense, actually. And that copycat thing has come in, and now people are like, oh, geez, I don't want to be seen as a dinosaur. Let's kick the ball out if they're doing it. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's like fashion, you know what I mean? An item of clothing comes back into fashion, and we're all like, like mullets, see guys proudly wearing mullets, whereas mullets were ridiculed when I was growing up. And, so it's just something along those lines, maybe.
Yeah. And it's also, and maybe this is not a point, obviously, that any professional team will consider. It's muck to watch. Like, look, don't get me wrong, I love a team pressing an opposition, but watching them boot the ball out of play to then press Barcelona, that just takes away the goodness of it somehow. That's just ugh. I agree. And we had this peak, I don't know when you kind of want to pick, but say,
when they both got the 100-point season.
Yeah, around then. I always remember the game in January of 2019 when City played Liverpool, and City, it's the peak of Pep, possession, like, unbelievable. Yeah. But unlike when it was kind of dead for a period with Barcelona and Spain, you've got gegenpressing now in Liverpool. Yeah. And so it's possession, but like under pressure, and it was just perfect.
Yeah. We both have our philosophies, and whoever can implement it better. Yeah. And you could see the battle taking place in front of your eyes.
Totally.
And I agree with that. I think when they both got the 100-point season, I think that was it. But I think no fatigue. Plus, you have to respect that the lesser teams in the Premier League have gotten so much better now that you can't just show up and play them off the park. Even even a Burnley now or a Crystal Palace or, any of the mid-table teams, Bournemouth, like they're all serious football teams now with serious recruitment.
There could be something in that actually as well, now that you say it. Because the days of like you go 2-0 up and just pass the ball around and you're in third gear for an hour. Maybe
Yeah.
they're not quite there anymore because the other teams are so fit. They'll keep pressing you, keep at you, and keeping the ball is more tiring than maybe it was
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I think it's got a lot to do with that. That you could perhaps play a Champions League game on a Wednesday night and then play on Saturday against, say, Bournemouth or whatever, and you go, well, we can rotate in a few players here, and we can kind of get a nice solid 2-0 win and get back up the road. Whereas now they're like, geez, we've got to play Bournemouth. Like with the way they play, like it's impossible for us to keep the ball against them because they're such high intensity team. So I think it's just all of that into a pot somewhere, and that's where the answer is.
Here's the thing, though. I don't want to watch that game yesterday ever again.
I don't either. I found myself drifting from it, about 75 minutes, go to make a cup of tea, or you know what I mean? It just, it wasn't pretty. The Chelsea-Man United game was mildly interesting because of the sendings off, but again, Chelsea looked so fatigued. I mean, they started that game so poorly, and it looked like the Bayern Munich night took an awful lot out of them. Man United obviously figured out a way for their system to work, and they obviously need to be at 10 men, and then they can actually play reasonably well. So that's a cheap joke.
It's all right. They hate you already. Don't go crawling back to the Man United fans. They don't want you. Ship has sailed. So come here, like City are. I accept actually a lot what you said, but I do think when Pep says, "Look," what did he say? It was a good line. He was talking about tactics and everything. He was talking about the damage of last season. He said, "This season, I don't give a blank about the result. I just want to see the spirit back, training sessions, enjoyment. Then after that, tactics." So he's kind of gone this back to basics, energy, passion. Haaland throwing himself around. Then we'll put the tactics. I'll re-pep them again. So maybe you can accept that as well of City. Although your point about them being very good against Napoli undermines that a little. But Arsenal are the one I want to ask you about because it's it's close to now or never here. And he's gone to Anfield and he's done this at home to City where they didn't look like scoring for most of the game, and like they've spent big money and the squad is deep and everything else. Like there's something wrong here with Arteta's Arsenal, isn't there?
I agree. I think that it's really strange with Arsenal because for a long time they couldn't get a centre back. And they were conceding goals, and everyone was like, "Oh, just buy a good centre back." No, they got the two best centre backs in Europe, and then they had a really, really good midfield, and they were lacking the top end of the pitch. So when Saka or Odegaard got injured, Trossard or Martinelli couldn't take up the season. So they were like, "Well, okay, let's address that." So they've addressed that now, and they've got Madueke and Eze, and their midfield seems to have dropped off a little bit as well. So I don't think that midfield is capable of going the distance. I just don't see it at the moment. Zubimendi's going to have to offer so much more. Declan Rice, I wonder how long he can keep going for, because every time I watch him play football, he is just on the rev limiter. Yeah. He's so good. He is so good.
So you put it down to, because people are talking about it almost as a character problem, like they just won't go for it. They lack that kind of winning mentality, all these kind of moral failings almost. You're more... Look at that midfield; it's just not good enough.
I think that is a valid point, and I think the manager is quite risk averse, and maybe does need a new voice or a new manager to get more out of that squad, get more belief in it. Because when a manager is talking about long throws and kicking for touch and not taking any risks, like it becomes ingrained in the players because the players are listening to the same message every day. So they're like, well, the manager's really, really safe, so I'm not going to take any risks, and they don't take any risks. And I think that is absolutely a problem, 100%. Okay. But I also look at that midfield and I'm like, how did they end up with that midfield, Arsenal? Yeah. Like, I just don't understand. I didn't understand the Marino signing when it happened. I think Liverpool probably dodged a bullet because they were after Zubimendi for a long time as well. So I'm not sure where that midfield kind of ended up. And that was my takeaway point from the game yesterday. I was watching that going, what is that midfield? Like, what is it? Like, what does it bring to the party? What's its strengths? What's its weaknesses? It's just a very kind of midfield.
And you know what? Remember this time last year, every time they had a corner, it felt like they would score. Ironically, they've lost something of the set piece fear factor.
I think everyone's cottoned on, really. They've realised what they do, starting at the back, and no teams is probably filling a certain area. probably going back to what I said to you about the Sam Allardyce thing. If corners get into these, to score arse from a corner, the ball has to be in this area.
Yeah.
So we're going to put all our players there, and then it becomes less harder. Or, you look at Gabriel or Saliba, they're such powerful players that, you just have to just fill the area they want to get to, as opposed to trying stopping them and marking them,
Remind me when you played under Big Sam.
I was at Crystal Palace for a year with him. He came in as a... sacked, man. Was Alan Pardew got sacked, and he came in not midway, or fairly early in the season, I'd say. And I loved him. I thought he was brilliant. He was absolutely amazing. Like, he did the clarity. And by the way, there's a lot of rumours about the way Big Sam is. He had an incredible staff. Some of the most high-tech, cutting-edge staff that you're likely to see. And he sat in his office, and he was a manager. Like, nothing happened to that club without his say. So, on top of that too, he's an amazing fella. Like, I mean, just kind of everything you think he is. You know what I mean? He's just a big character. And, he walked in a room, and I remember his first meeting. What was it? One of his first meetings, just came in and he said something, he just pulled over an A4 sheet of paper or one of those flip charts. And he was like, "That's the team for tomorrow. If you're in it, well done. If you're not, don't bother coming and seeing me, because we'll have an argument. There'll only be one fucking winner." And then walked out. And that's so old school. And everyone was just like, "Oh, fair enough." Right, the gaffer, he's in charge then. So yeah, look, I thoroughly enjoyed working with him and listening to him and watching him operate later on in my career. So I was kind of able to pick up what kind of manager he was. But he didn't accept dropping the standards. And when he went, he's not you get out of his way, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. 2 quick points. We sign of a good chat. I'm not going to get to anything I meant to get to, but the early kickoff was Liverpool-Everton 2-1 win. Liverpool went 2-0 up, and then Everton kind of threatened for a while, and Liverpool saw it out. Gravenberch goal, amazing. Slot made the point again. Maybe it ties in with your earlier theory. We've played 4 games in 7 days, Wednesday and then the early kickoff Saturday. So he said, under those circumstances, to win Merseyside Derby, absolutely fine by me. Where do Liverpool fit into, because they're fun to watch at the moment. Like they look a little bit open, and they're going for it, and they're scoring goals. What do you make of them? Like they're the antidote at the moment to watching Arsenal City games.
Yeah, no, they're in a good place. You can't argue it. They're probably still trying to find their identity, with all the new signings that have come in. But it's built on the bedrock of the goalkeeper, Virgil van Dijk, Gravenberch. There's a real solid spine. Alexis McAllister. I think the likes of Ekitike, Kerkez, Frimpong, they've joined an absolute juggernaut of a football club, and they're probably just trying to find where do they fit in this. They're a little bit like going, "Oh my God, this is amazing. This is an incredible team, and there's such strong characters in Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk and McAllister and people like this. Like, what's my role? Like, where do I fit in this? How do I add to this?" And that's probably why it looks slightly a little bit, I don't want to say disjointed, or it looks a little bit, I think that Liverpool team is still finding its identity while still winning games. It's an incredible place to be. But once they find out exactly what they are, and everybody gets settled, and everybody finds their role in the team and what they're supposed to bring to the party, I think they're unbeaten this season. They've an incredible late goal record. They are the team to beat.
Yeah, it's looking like a repeat of last season.
Yeah, I think they could.
I think they're going to stroll away again. By March, we're done.
Yeah, and they've got a great squad as well, so it's possible.
Yeah. Irish watch then. Evan Ferguson played over an hour for Roma against Lazio. Seems to be going really well. So, everything we wanted from him. At the other end of the Irish spine is Nathan Collins. Brentford were beaten 3-1 by Fulham. Brentford are kind of hovering above relegation zone now. It's starting to look like it might be the season we feared for Keith Andrews. A difficult one for them. I didn't see the game in full. The word was he struggled in the game a bit. There was the equaliser for Fulham where it was a high ball in the box. It was awkward, to be fair to him. You can talk us through. It was awkward, but he didn't deal with it well. And then for the other goal, there was a header. It was an OG ultimately, but you felt he could have dealt with it initially and didn't. Um, where are you on Collins as a player? Like, there's such talent there. There's a physique there. There's a propensity for mistakes there. It feels like he's making quite a few at the moment, or maybe he's not, and I'm just remembering that wrong of late. But he just doesn't feel in a particularly good place, to say the least.
No, he's going through a bit of a tough time at the moment. I know there was a period last year at Brentford. Remember, he made two. Was it the Wolves game at home where he made two mistakes? He left the back pass short. There was a couple. So he has that in his locker where he just kind of goes off the boil, and then he refocuses himself and he does really, really well. But you're right, he's a very, very good player, more than capable of playing at the level that he's at. He's now captain for club and country. So I just wonder, is that kind of playing on his mind a little bit? Does he feel he needs to be something different? Does he feel like he needs to do more? Are both those roles slightly too early for him? You know, if it was another couple of years and he was a lot more comfortable in his own skin and a lot more assured of himself as a player, and then it comes naturally to him, where sometimes if you get the armband too early and you're not quite ready for it, you know, you start changing your personality, you start trying to be something you're not. You know, the captain's armband is something that comes to you and you don't change who you are. You know, you were given it because of what you are. So I just wonder, at 24 years of age, you know, he's bounced around a lot. You know, he's gone from, was it Stoke to Burnley to Wolves to Brentford. I think that's his path. You know, all for big money, and you're kind of jumping around teams and you just want to find your own identity, like who you are as a player. You know, like what I was saying to you about Liverpool, like you want to find who you are, what do you bring to this game? Like what is your skill set? What's your role definition, right? And maybe he's still just trying to figure that out. But he's a good player. There's no doubt about that. He's going to be a massive player for us moving forward in the national team. But I'm sure he'll come good again, man. There's no doubt about that. But you're right. He just has these moments in him where he just makes really poor decisions.
Mm. And like it, because it's tempting to say, "Oh, is that a concentration thing?" Because even remember we had Tony Adams in, and he was talking about when he was a younger player. When it got to 78 minutes, he would just lose concentration a lot. But to be fair, like, say that mistake at the weekend with the high ball, that's not a concentration one. He's on high alert there. He knows it's like, and he just doesn't deal with it. So it's hard to know what it is. And I was thinking, you know, there's certain things even for Ireland you've highlighted at times where the gaps between midfield are too big. And then even Armenia, the last time we spoke, like he just looked completely fatigued. I know the few days before that, when Gary Breen was on with us, he was disappointed at, like, in the air against Hungary, how often the forward was getting the ball before Collins was, that he should be getting there first. You know, too many first balls, not one. So it's like a lot, and
it's a focus issue, right? And what you have to understand is when you're captain of a Premier League team, like there's a lot of responsibility. You know, you got to go see referees beforehand. You know, you're getting messages from the police. You know, you're leading your team out. You got to go for the coin toss. Like there's a lot going on. You know, you can't just get in your own little bubble as a player and lock in and say, right, none of this interests me. I've got no, you know, you might have to do a little bit of media beforehand. You know, the manager might be talking to you about your schedule next week or whatever it might be. So what I'm saying is to be a captain, you have to be so sure of yourself, right? You have to be so confident in yourself and what you are as a player. And then the other stuff is, you know, you can just handle it because it just happens, right? You're like, I know what I am. I know exactly what I am, and I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter what else goes on. You know, if my child is sick the night before a game, it's fine, right? Whereas if you're a little bit unsure of yourself, and all of a sudden your weekly build up to a game is a little bit different because you're the captain and you've got other things to do. There might be like every now and again they have these Premier League captains meetings. You know, we got to go into London and all the captains sit down with the Premier League and you chat about refereeing, or you chat about. So what I'm saying is there's a different workload on you, and I think that maybe that's just kind of that extra response, or that extra distraction into his week might just be a focus issue for him. Because you're right, that high ball in, he should have just gone and dealt with that. And if you're fully focused, you're fully locked in, you just go and you meet that header, and if you don't win, a ball drops down, you get your laces on it. But he just looked like he was just a little bit all at sea. Same with the Ireland game. He looked tired. Could be a mental fatigue as well. You know, you're captain for your country, which is a huge, honour. But again, there's extra responsibility for that in terms of the travelling, the training. You're speaking with the manager. There's lots of things going on, and if you're not quite ready for it, or you're not quite sure of yourself as a player, then perhaps, I'm just saying, again, another half-baked theory there, Joe.
God, you just shoot a lot of shit, don't you? Where are you plucking all this from?
There's something in all of it. I'm not sure what. But
No. You may be onto something. I guess you'd like to say, oh, he'll find his feet over the next number of months, but from an Irish perspective, there's obviously big games fast approaching. So let's see how he turns up in October.